Hey guys!
Happy Saturday and welcome back to
Latte and Foam.
Today we have a super fun video for you guys, and we've been wanting to make it ever since we saw the first ads, and that is for Love's Hella Punk.
The delinquent Tengoku ambushes you after school, and even his bad boy friends show up. Every day feels like hell on earth, no matter what you say. I want to protect you. So when I read the description, essentially it's this random hoodlum comes to your school, you're a high school student, and he proposes to you day after day.
But it's completely different than normal Voltage apps. It's not even really an Otome game except for that you're the main character, so that part of it is, but you're not making choices. It's not a start to finish story. They kind of do it more like a manga series where there's chapters coming out, but it's definitely not finished. We only have 7 episodes, and we actually went into the Japanese version of Voltage to figure out how many are there gonna be, because it seems like it just got started in these 7 episodes.
Yeah.
And this is the first volume of spring, so it seems like they're gonna do a second volume spring, third volume spring, because I believe there was 20-ish episodes for spring, and then there's summer, fall, and winter is when it finally ends. There's a total of 89 episodes or chapters or conversations, as they called it in the Japanese version.
It's a total look that Voltage has pretty much not really done. So when you get into this, there's chapters that are extremely short. So it's one and done. They actually give you the first 3 for free, and then you can buy the rest. And essentially you just really go into the game. And you're really getting to know the main guy. Each chapter switches off too between
Perspectives switch off.
Yeah. Your point of view, his point of view, and then even his friend. So then you meet Tatsunoshi. So essentially what happens, you start off and he just says you don't remember me. There's flashbacks that happen to you. So I'm assuming that what's going to happen is that you're going to know him in a past.
Yeah, it seems like you guys were actually childhood friends and she doesn't remember it at all. Also, you guys, it's set in the 80s. So it's super different. I'm pretty sure the time frame is actually in the 80s because the way they're speaking and the things that are going on. It's kind of a simpler time. The 80s in Japan were super well-off, successful time for people to just have fun and use a lot of slang, apparently. Because we were so shocked about the slang. It was I'ma do this, dead ass.
Hella,
They even say nani.
Yeah,
nani?
Nani? So, but to be very honest, there's not a lot of romance in the first 7 at all. Even though the main guy is being let's get married and whatever, there's not a lot of that. It does remind me of mangas, romance mangas, how they start very slow and you're just,
and it's short chapters.
Yeah, short chapters. You're really just doing this everyday slice of life, getting through before you get to the more serious parts. Obviously there's 89 chapters. It happens. It's just not gonna happen in the first 7.
Yeah. I mean, so far, I feel they've kind of built up the characters really well. I can really believe the bonds between the main guy and his friend. The whole soy milk joke was really funny.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I like all of the characters so far. It's just we haven't really gotten to know them. So if you're into the story, you're probably going to be into buying a lot of seasons to get through it. And I'm just concerned, if for whatever reason they don't sell enough units, they're not going to get the rest translated because it's a big translation order and a difficult one as well because of all the slang.
Yeah, it'll go on the shelf. Some other things I'd like to say to you that I actually really liked is the graphics that go on in this game. So when you're meeting him, they have character cards. In Voltage, you used to do all the time where it would show you their stats and stuff. It does that when you meet one of, I would assume, the main guys. So I like that, and they talk through it.
I like the colors too.
Yeah.
It's poppy. It's a very 80s. They did a super good job making that a cohesive theme.
They also do too. I like the chapter cards in between where it's it gives you a quote from the guy that might be in that same next chapter. I actually really like that.
I love that too.
I like the kind of step that Voltage is kind of going out there on the limb to try something new, because they do break fourth wall. If you when you watch anime and they're audience and stuff, they do the same thing that here.
Yeah, it's super experimental and new. It's, I don't know, there was some parts about the fact that it's experimental that confuse us though. For example, in the beginning, he goes blurry a few times and they're making a joke that it's a glitch in the game. They refer to it being a game several times, so it's is it a game within a game? And now we're starting to think after reading it all that maybe it's just like them just going ham on those jokes, like of breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah. So we won't know until we decide to possibly, like, if they release more translated, because it'll take some time. But
yeah, I definitely will play more of it because I'm interested in the story.
I do think it gets you interested because you're kind of just like left with the like, okay, but I need to understand like what's gonna happen next. I do think, and I like the character designs too because they're retro. I mean, the slang is like funny. To me, it's just funny because you're so like thrown off. But yeah, the graphics are actually one of my favorite parts because it's just so much going on, but not too much going on, I feel like, if that makes sense.
And just the style that they drew the characters in is a lot better than what they've been going for more recently. Like, for example, I forget what it's called. The one where you're 99% compatible with the guy.
Oh, Destined.
Destined, yeah. So in that one, I mean, it's not that the graphics are bad in that one, but they just do this really like close-up headshot of the guy most of the time. And I don't really prefer that. Like, I prefer to see a little bit more. So in this one, all the sprites usually start back and then they'll kind of come up on the screen. They'll move around a lot. They'll run past really fast. Like,
yeah.
It feels more engaging because of that.
I did just want to pop on here and mention one inconsistency with the art that we noticed. In some cases, the main character has heterochromia. One eye is a gray-brown tone and the other blue. Yet in other cases, both eyes are blue. They're mostly both blue, but in all of the promotional imaging, it's heterochromia and a couple of times in the game. So just wanted to throw that out. I think it's supposed to be heterochromia because when I was playing the Japanese version, there was a childhood flashback and the childhood sprite had very prominent heterochromia. So I'm pretty sure that's just an error in the art.
This one doesn't have choices. Now, personally, even though I get like that's kind of the whole point of Voltage, you have choices because it's supposed to be an Otome, so this is obviously going in a different direction. For me, sometimes I don't really care about the choices. I'm like, I'm reading the story to read the story, so that's kind of why I do it.
It's not a negative for us, but
yeah.
I know for some people that might be like disappointing that there's not multiple endings, but when it has literally 89 chapters, I don't see how they're going to make multiple endings.
Many choices. And sometimes just to keep in like perspective from like Voltage's standpoint and doing like a business like look at it, because you chose the guy, like that's kind of the whole point. Like you're going to end up with them anyway kind of thing. So it's like the choices are just to get different dialogue and different conversations and stuff, because most of the time Voltage either does good or happy and it's the same.
Yeah, it's more like Otome games are almost like a gimmick to get people to like read a manga, right? So yeah, like instead of reading a manga or a webtoon, you're playing the Otome game because it's a game, because you want to play a game, but it's really not. Like, they're just adding in those choices.
And you're self-inserting. I mean, like, I love Otomes. Yeah. So I love Otomes and I'm always going to play them. I like choices too. Sometimes you're like, but I just think of it that way. Like, it's still going to be an Otome feeling that you're going to get. It's just a little bit longer and it builds up a little more.
You know what I wonder? Because they didn't have any CGs.
Oh, no.
So I wonder if they ever are. Because, I mean, there's that poster image that they do where he's sitting on top of the building. Mm-hmm. Like, is that a CG that we're going to eventually get? I'm really curious to find out. Yeah.
I didn't think about that you don't get any. Because I was just reading it. So, like, I didn't think about it until now that we don't have one. I wonder, but I would say like I like that idea of like the building up of it because you get a lot more perspective on a character. Not that you can't with like 16 chapters and stuff, but sometimes like when you're in that, like you have to really get to know them in such a small environment and like going together. And so with this, it gives you a lot of time to build up who this character is, including your own character, and then the side characters too, because they'll have little side quests. Because I think that that'll happen too, and I would love to see that in that like platform as well. I mean, if you read webtoons, if you read any like online comics, it's the same thing. Like you're just waiting.
But the thing I don't like about those is that you can't self-insert. So the fact that they made it like that still, I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
like,
I can say
I really like it.
That's a game changer too, yeah. Where it's not where you're having to see your character and know that like that's not you, it's somebody else. This way you're like, okay, well, I'm the main character and you're going through that stuff.
Yeah, and I really like the music. That's something you don't usually get from webtoons, right? Is music?
No, not all the time, no.
Do they sometimes?
Some of them do in like random parts, but not a lot of them.
Okay, yeah. So I really like the music. It like immerses you. It makes you feel like you're really like a high school student in the 80s.
Yeah.
And just like the dialogue's really entertaining. I'm trying to think if there's anything else about it. I mean, that's the thing. There's only 7 episodes. Like,
yeah, there's so much more to come for it. And I was going in thinking personally, I was like, I'm gonna hate this. I think it's gonna be so lame. And I actually really enjoyed it myself.
Yeah, I really liked it too. I was really confused and like 30 minutes later I was done and I was like, oh, I want to read more.
I want to read more, yeah. The dialogue is funny, so like of course we're gonna make jokes about it, but I want to see what'll happen. Hopefully it gets enough off the ground and where people want to read it more just like we do, so we can see more. But I really think that's it because it was so small. There's not a lot to talk about
Yeah.
yet. We just know because we downloaded the Japanese app ourselves and looked on Voltage Japan just to see more stuff, like to see what's going on.
Yeah, and we figured, like, because there's so many people commenting, like, what is this? When's more coming out? What's going on? Like, so that's the answer. There's a total of 89 chapters. They're going to release them in volumes and per season. So they might have a couple of volumes. I'm thinking maybe 3, maybe 4 per season, and they're going to go through all 4 seasons of the year.
Yeah.
So that's the tea on that.
Yeah, and just yes, because it came out in November of last year for Voltage Japan.
Yeah,
So
and it wrapped in February of this year. So it went from November to February of this year.
So it'll be coming pretty soon.
Yeah, kind of just slowly rolling them out.
But hopefully you guys will check it out too, and you guys will read it again. At least check out the first 3 chapters. You can get like a good amount of like understanding from the first 3 chapters, I feel like.
Yeah, and when you do, comment below and let us know what you think. Like, do you think it's supposed to be a game within a game, or what are your thoughts on the format in general? We do have another video coming up very soon that we were planning to film today, and that is the Given anime movie. It just didn't end up coming. It got a little bit delayed for the English release.
Yeah, so it came out in Japan yesterday, the 22nd, but it's still in the works, but it will be on Crunchyroll. I know that much. Like her and I were like doing research. I was like, where is it? But yeah, it's still coming. So we hope you guys will tune in for that video. We have another Dream Daddy and that installment for Latte Foam Gaming. So just know that we're gonna still do our regular Latte Foam videos, but we're also gonna
we wanted to come back with the Latte Foam video. So when we saw Love's Hollow Punk, we're like,
let's do it.
Anyway,
we we'll see you guys next time then, I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna be out.
I'm gonna be out.